will never go away. It'll always be with me. And I think I saw somewhere the sadness is a reminder of how much he means to me.
Will never know. I don't think any of us will never know what the truth is. You know, and you're talking about so many different. There's so many different aspects.
Just feel like, I did something right in life with him,
Malcolm-Jamal Warner, dead at the age of 54 on a drowning accident while he was vacationing with his family in Costa Rica. Joining us now, Bomani Jones, host of the Right Time with Bomani Jones podcast.
Regina King just confirmed what fans have been whispering for weeks. Malcolm-Jamal Warner didn't just pass away, he was taken out. The way everything unfolded has people convinced he was silenced, because it all went down way too smooth, too sudden, and way too quiet.
The first thing that they do is they bring him to the surface and give the emergency respirations. Right there in the water on the surfboard. And when he didn't respond to that, my friend rapidly took him into the beach and they immediately began CPR.
Sure, the reports claim he drowned in Costa Rica, but here's the catch. Nobody ever said where he was staying, who was with him, or even how the news got out in the first place. All that was released was a neat little statement saying accidental submersion, and then boom, radio silence. No breakdowns, no explanations, nothing. And this is what makes it suspicious. Malcolm wasn't reckless, he wasn't losing control, and he definitely wasn't hiding out. He was respected, grounded, still working, and still moving strong. For something this major to hit at that exact time, people can't help but side-eye the whole thing. What really sent fans into theory mode is what he had cooking before his death. Malcolm was writing a memoir, one that insiders say was gonna drop names directly. Not for clicks, not for hype, but to finally tell the truth after decades of watching it all play out behind the scenes. And then suddenly, he's gone. The timing was just too perfect to be random, and Regina King's response, it only fueled more suspicion. The very second news of Malcolm's death went public, she quietly posted 2 short Instagram stories and then vanished from the spotlight. No tribute, no explanation, just silence. And that silence spoke louder than anything. She didn't face the press, she didn't drop a heartfelt caption, and she never once mentioned drowning, just 2 cryptic slides. That's it. The first, a photo of Malcolm on a motorcycle, paired with the line, "Some people leave a lasting imprint, not just for who they were, but for the energy they carried." The second, just 3 words, "Ride in power." On the surface, it looks simple, like a quiet tribute. But when you really sit with those words, it feels different, almost chilling. Regina wasn't talking like someone blindsided by a sudden accident. She was speaking like someone who already knew what was coming. No rest in peace, no mention of drowning, no words about shock, grief, or how unexpected it all was. Just a goodbye that sounded strangely final. It gave the impression she was saying farewell to someone whose fate had been sealed long before the headlines broke. Like she wasn't reacting in real time. She was closing a chapter she'd already processed. And let's be real, Regina is not careless with her words. She posts rarely. And when she does, every single word carries weight. Remember, after losing her son in 2022, she went completely silent for weeks before making a statement. And when she finally did, it was guarded, intentional, protective.
Grief is a journey. I understand that grief is love that has no place to go. I know that it's important to me to honor Ian in the totality of who he is.
So when you compare that to the way she handled Malcolm's death, it stands out in a way that's impossible to ignore. And don't forget, this wasn't just another colleague. Malcolm was someone she lived with, someone she trusted deeply. So why no real tribute? Why so little emotion? Or maybe the better question is, why couldn't she say more? The deeper fans dug into what Malcolm was working on before he died, the darker it all started to look.
It's a beautiful day here in Atlanta. I just wanted to shout out and just spread some love and some good cheer. And life is out here lifing, right? For me and for everybody else. But just wanted to remind you, as I remind myself, that no matter what's going on, there's always a reason to smile.
That memoir wasn't just about his life. It was reportedly blowing the lid off everything he'd been told to keep quiet about. We're talking secret parties, behind closed doors deals, and the so-called victims who were meant to stay silenced forever. And here's the craziest part. Some of the people tied to those stories are still walking around today like nothing ever happened. Malcolm was said to be collecting testimonies, stories that never once hit the headlines, stacking them up as receipts. And he wasn't afraid to pull back the curtain on how scandals around him really hit. He even opened up about the Cosby mess, not just the fallout itself, but the betrayal he felt seeing how the people he once admired were exposed. Watch this clip where he talks about how deeply that chapter scarred him.
Honestly, my biggest feeling is I feel sad for, just the way this whole, just the way the whole story has come about. And when you've done so much wonderful, so many wonderful things for so much of your career.
It's raw, it's real, and it shows just how personal this was. And here's where it gets even more intense. Rumors say Malcolm wasn't writing this book solo. Word is, he teamed up with 2 insiders, both with legal backgrounds, to make sure every detail was airtight before publishing. That's how serious he was. This wasn't about chasing clout. It was about telling the truth with no room for doubt. Fans picked up on all of this fast, and the comments turned explosive. One wrote, "It's too many stories. It's nauseating." Just like Angie Stone, I'm surprised Malcolm drowned because he was known to be a good swimmer. Rest in heavenly peace, Malcolm. Another added, "Very suspicious." Why would he be swimming in dangerous waters with his young daughter? The questions just keep piling up, and the answers still nowhere to be found. Now let's be real. Malcolm wasn't the first, and sadly, he won't be the last. The entertainment game has a long, twisted history of shutting people down the moment they start talking too much or digging too deep. We've seen this ugly cycle play out again and again. Somebody speaks up, the industry goes cold, and then suddenly that person either disappears, loses it all, or ends up dead in some so-called accident. Think back to Isaac Kappy, the actor who called out Hollywood's elite before mysteriously falling off a bridge. In this clip, one of Kappy's closest friends explains why he believes Kappy didn't jump, but that the whole thing was staged to look like a suicide.
The thing with Isaac Kappy, that's personal to me. Your biggest issue is the things that Aquino and his group taught me to do are fun, and I'm really good at it. Enjoy the dark, brother.
And hearing that, it's hard not to see the eerie parallels. So when Regina King went quiet, when she posted those vague slides and then completely disappeared from the spotlight, it didn't just feel like grief, it felt like fear. Because let's be honest, she knew Malcolm better than anyone else. She knew what he stood for, what he was planning, and just how dangerous those truths could be once they hit the page. And that's why her silence screams louder than any statement could. If she's not out here demanding answers, maybe it's because she already knows the cost of crossing that line. Remember, others who tried to write memoirs, expose hidden deals, or reveal dark truths mysteriously didn't make it either. Even Jaguar Wright spoke on this exact pattern in the industry, dropping names and pointing out how powerful people will do anything to keep the truth buried. And in case you missed it, here's that exact interview segment.
Andre was writing a book right before he died. Heavy D was working on a book before he died. Kim Porter was working on a book before she died. And Al B. Sure was working on the documentary of his life. And then he goes into a coma.
Now here's where things get even wilder. Some fans are convinced Regina might actually be holding pieces of Malcolm's memoir. The theory is that before his death, he may have slipped her drafts or notes, not to publish, but to keep safe. And if that's true, it changes everything. Because if what he wrote was even half as explosive as people claim, then whoever holds those pages isn't just keeping a secret, they're carrying a ticking time bomb. That could explain Regina's silence. Maybe it's not that she doesn't know what happened. Maybe it's that she knows too much. Her staying quiet might not be cluelessness. It might be survival. Fans are already saying she's not speaking because she's next. And honestly, in an industry with this history, that fear doesn't sound far-fetched. Malcolm's death has sparked people to dig back through old cases. The ones that got brushed off, buried, or flat out ignored. Stars who vanished, names that disappeared after threatening to go public, and bodies that turned up once the wrong people were exposed. Some were tied to powerful families, others linked to industry circles too dark to shine a light on. And like clockwork, every time the press moved on and the truth got buried, Malcolm never wanted to be on that list. But now, tragically, he is. And the scariest part? We may never know what he was really trying to warn us about unless someone steps up, unless somebody close, maybe Regina, maybe someone in his circle, decides the truth is worth risking it all to release. And here's the angle almost nobody is talking about, the part that could explain everything. According to a source close to Malcolm, the reason he kept stalling on finishing his memoir wasn't procrastination, it was protection. He wasn't just telling his story, he was trying to shield certain people people, survivors who were abused, blackmailed, or used like pawns in scandals bigger than we even know. Think about it. Once that book dropped, it wouldn't just expose the predators, it would drag the survivors into the spotlight too. That's why Malcolm held back. He circled it for years, sat on drafts, and waited for the right moment. But when he finally decided to push forward, everything came to a screeching halt. If that's not suspicious at this point, I don't know what is. But here's where a spark of hope remains. Rumors say a digital copy of his manuscript still exists. Maybe hidden in the cloud, maybe on a hard drive handed to someone he trusted. And if that's true, then the story isn't dead yet. It's waiting to detonate. Every single day without answers just gives the guilty more time to erase their tracks. But if that file surfaces, if those names are real, Hollywood as we know it could collapse. The silence would shatter, the people hiding in the shadows would have nowhere left to run, and the truth would rip the entire game wide open. That's exactly why they needed Malcolm gone, and that's why they're hoping we stop asking questions. But here's the thing, if even one brave person breaks ranks and drops what Malcolm left behind, it's game over. And trust me, somebody in Hollywood knows that clock is ticking louder by the day. If you want the truth to come out, make sure you hit subscribe to Wisp Zone and drop your thoughts in the comments, because this story isn't just gossip, it's a countdown.